Oh boys, we're going to teach you today how to become an articulate individual that knows how to communicate properly, mainly because it's probably the question I get top 3 most. How are you able to articulate yourself and deliver these complex subjects and topics very simply? Now, the one thing when it comes to communication, you got to be a gentleman, because obviously I completely forgot. Boys, if you're new here, we talk in like absolute gentlemen because this space is lost, all class, all soul. But one thing I'll talk about is the ability to articulate yourself. Everyone has a different modality of communicating, and I think a lot of times people try to adopt other people's way of speaking because we're just very monkey see, monkey do. That's what a lot of human beings are. But you want to find your own style. You know, the way that you might preach things might be different than the way I articulate things, or the way that I express myself when I'm angry, when I'm a little bit down, when I'm extremely excited, when I'm completely pissed off. Everyone has a different modality and a way of delivering depending on the type of mood they're in, or what the hell's going on, especially when stressed too. So you have to understand there's a lot of these things, but when people ask me, could you write a course on this? I'm like, I'm not doing a course on communication. I already started a digital nation. People are already like, what the hell's up with you starting a digital nation? If you know, you know, Crusadia coded. It's not what we're here for. When it comes to articulating yourself properly, you want to know what step 1 is? Step 1 is to shut up. I'm not joking. The reason why I'm able to communicate how I want to is because I'm quiet most of the time. When I'm excited, I tend to talk a lot, but that's pure excitement. But the problem is you don't have clarity. In order to gain clarity, you can't just talk yourself into clarity or wish yourself into clarity. You have to know what you're talking about. It's much easier to communicate things when you know so deeply about them. People forget this. They think communicating is like a separate skill from knowing the things that you actually know. Doesn't at all work this way. I'm able to articulate certain concepts because I know them so intricately. I know them on such a cellular level that I'm able to explain these things. That comes from clarity. That's why step 1 is to shut up and to listen and to learn. Only speak about things that you are completely, let me preface by saying, that doesn't mean you have to know everything there is to know about a subject to then talk. I feel like a lot of people don't understand nuance. What I mean to say is for you to feel more confident speaking, and that's step 1, right? If you can't speak even with confidence, doesn't matter if you know something to the nth degree. You're not confident, you're gonna be coming in at 50%, you're gonna stutter a lot, you're gonna worry about how you sound. You gotta get rid of that. But first step is to know what you're talking about. It can be something even about sports. If you think about it, you probably, those of you guys that know a lot about sports, or a particular sport, you're not thinking about what you're saying prior. You're just letting it go because you know so much and the subject matter is one that excites you. You need to speak on those things, and then you can work on it and say, you know something? I need to work on how I deliver this. I use the word like a lot. I tend to stutter when I get nervous or get super excited. You have to pick up on these habits, but you need meat on the bone to then worrying about taking off fat. That's how I want you to think of it. You want more meat on the bone, take care of everything. Just let everything flow, and then it's much easier to dial it in because that's the refinement process. But you're trying to refine before you even have meat on the bone. How are you gonna cut fat off this beautiful bone and ribeye if there ain't ribeye, right? You're just stuck with a bone and then you're worried about, oh, am I gonna sound this way? It's not effective nor efficient, to be honest with you. When you learn how to just speak in the way that feels native to you, then you can worry about the cadence. When I deliver something that's serious, I naturally slow down my speech. When I want you guys to understand something, or if I'm trying to get you guys, you know, to listen all the way through a video, I want to speak quicker. I want to deliver my points faster, especially if it's trying to deliver information. Depends on the subject matter, but versus you trying to take all of these things, oh, okay, when I'm in this spot, I'll do this. That's a memorization game. You need to just be. And when you naturally be, then you can worry about, okay, I notice when I'm excited, I do X, Y, and Z. I tend to stutter over my words. I speak really fast and I mumble. Versus understanding, when you deliver information, it has to be in a way that the person understands. When you come from a place of care, for me, the reason why I was able to get really good at communicating, mainly because I've been doing it since I've been young, but everyone talks every single day. But there's some people that clearly talk every single day, but they speak at a higher level. The reason why they speak at a higher level is because they're mindful. You know, I don't want you to sit in a conversation completely bored. That comes from a place of care. I don't want the time that you have, and that's the only thing we can't buy back, to be something that's just a waste of your time. I think this way, and it helps me to come from a place of care, because when I care, then it's all about how do I deliver this, not so I look cooler, but so the other person receives it better. You know, I don't want to just say words just to say them, but in the beginning, you have to work on that skill, and sometimes it's saying things just to say them, but only on things that you have clarity on, because then you'll learn how to speak articulately. You'll know how to expend certain concepts in such a simple way that people are like, oh wow, that's what I believe is master communicators. You're able to take these really complex topics and to deliver them in such a concise and cohesive manner that even a fifth grader can understand it. But you have to start by speaking on things you actually know about. And you're not doing yourself any favors by trying to learn how to communicate difficult concepts that you don't even understand yet. So a lot of times if I don't understand something, I'm just gonna sit back and just kind of stay quiet. Even when I know what I'm talking about, I like to listen. The best communicators are the best listeners. You wanna know why? Because they're present, they're listening, they're involved. And naturally, if you're involved in a conversation, and let's say somebody on the other end that you're speaking to isn't quite expanding on anything, so you have no meat on the bone, right? There's some people you're in conversations with, you're like, this is awful. This guy, what's his one-word answers? What the hell am I looking at? But maybe you need to ask your questions a little bit better. I look at that as a fun little thing where I'm like, okay, how can I ask questions and truly find what this person is actually interested in to then be able to have a real conversation that's back and forth. Obviously, I can sit here and I can talk for hours. Boys inside Crusadia know this. I can talk for 5 hours straight with abundance of passion. But when it comes to something like this, obviously it's a lot more information based. You guys are looking for these tips and tricks. How do I articulate myself? How do I say these things in such a way that people look at me and I grab their attention? Because attention is the new oil, but people don't understand what that means. You know, attention is the new oil, meaning, you know, at the end of the day, we only have control over two things if we're alive and well. Our attention and where we're aiming that attention towards to expend our energy. So with that, you kind of have to be particular about what you're doing, and you have to have an element of clarity within yourself to then become the master or communicator. But you got to go step by step. You're not going to get there overnight, but you can do your best yourself. Coffee, hold on, forgot. I got to take a sip. I got to take a sip of coffee if this is going to be a coffee talk. I don't have the pot. I don't feel like making one. And to be honest with you today, you know, I'm not like feeling particularly high energy. Oh yeah, man, I'm ready to get after it today. Today's one of those days I'm completely worn down. But it's also to explain, I don't want to make this master communicator or learning how to communicate properly on a day I'm feeling at my best. Because it's going to show you, depending on how I feel, is the way that I'm going to explain things. I don't tell myself as, oh, if I'm going to communicate properly, I have to come in a very specific way. It's being multidimensional with the way you communicate. Today I'm a lot more calm and just, you know, feeling a little bit blasé, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean my communication goes down the gutter because I need to feel a certain way to then be able to explain and articulate myself properly. And that's why I'm making this video at the time I'm doing it. Because if I can still explain this on a day that I'm not necessarily feeling at my peak, doesn't matter. Because communication, no matter what, depends on the mood you're in. The way I want to articulate and the way I want to explain certain things is going to be different depending on the mental mode that I'm in. But I take it as every mental mode I'm in is an advantage. I just have to learn how to utilize that advantage to then be able to explain certain stuff. So in my opinion, step one is to shut up. Step two is to slow down. You don't have to talk really fast, even though a lot of people online do. You're seeing a lot of short form content. Don't let that infect your mind. Slow down. There's no timer on you. If you need a couple seconds to not say and like, take your time. In the beginning, that's what I used to do. I used to just talk a lot slower for a little bit, and then trust me, you'll be able to speed it up. And another thing you can do to really speed it up is every time you say, do 100 push-ups. I'm not joking. Give yourself a little bit of a punishment that you don't feel like doing. I will tell you right now, you will definitely rid yourself of the and the likes and the filler words. Super, super helpful. You start to think about it, and then it becomes second nature. It becomes autopilot. And then step three is talk about things you are genuinely interested in. Genuinely. Don't speak on things you're not interested in to where you're trying to find words. It should just flow, just by being. When you're in a conversation that you love, you're not thinking about what you're saying. That's why the best conversations, you look at the clock and you say, oh my goodness, it's been 3 hours. I can't believe it. When you do those 3 steps, in my opinion, this is the beginner. Then from there, you can learn how to refine. Then you have to find better vocabulary. A lot of times, you can't find the right words to say because you don't have the vocabulary. You have to learn certain words. What does this word mean? What does that? Doesn't mean you have to read a dictionary. But every time you're stumped on trying to find a word, it's a good idea to go open up your computer or your phone and just look up what word you were looking for. Now you have a real reason to learn that word, and you'll learn it a lot quicker. But I don't believe in just sitting down and memorizing a bunch of terms that I may never use. But you should be aware of the fact that, oh, I got stumped here because I couldn't quite find the words because I didn't have it. Then you learn the word, and it's much easier the next time you go to get stumped to then use that word. Then from there, it's finding your cadence. Do you speak extremely fast? Depending on the type of mental mode you're in, do I want to tell a story? How do I tell the story? How do I build it up to build excitement? How do I reach the climax of the story? How do I talk about the down periods of that story? Just take your time, you know? The first time you do it, you're gonna suck. But the point is if you follow those steps, in my opinion, and you probably think I want those steps from the beginning, but I think it's important to have all of that context prior. You need that context prior to delivering what the actual steps are, because then you'll be able to know where they're coming from. When they come from a place of care about the other person that's hearing my words, you're gonna learn a lot faster versus you trying to hit a checklist, just like everyone else in fitness. That's why I'm the anti-fitness guy, because I think fitness in general is extremely self-absorbed. People that are in fitness only think about themselves. That's why most of the time they feel really good about themselves, because in order to help people, I have to build value within myself. But think about the difference in those two people. This guy's building himself up because he knows that in order to be valuable to other people, he has to create value within himself to then be able to expend on other people and to care about other people. Two entirely different modalities of doing things. And this guy is the one that's gonna lap that guy 10 times out of 10. He's gonna have everything this guy wants on accident because he's moving with his heart. That is leading with your heart. It's about caring about people outside of yourself. And then to really dial that in is people that you genuinely are around that fill up your own heart. And that's your instincts. You know this. There's certain conversations and people are like, man, I like this guy. And there's other people that you might look at as valuable, like a guy that's worth a lot of money. You're like, oh, I don't really like him. Deep down, you know this. I don't really like him, but you know, he's super valuable. And so I have to make sure that, you know, he looks at me favorably because he can do a lot for me. You see the difference? Anyways, I appreciate watching this video. Listen, if you guys want to learn about this stuff a little bit more developed, you need to go to the Uncle Rommy business channel. I talk about things that are a lot more in depth. This channel is definitely more phase one, which is fitness, diet, entry level. It's the first step. This is what this page is for. It's for phase one, which is fitness, you finding real confidence, learning how to articulate yourself a little bit better. That channel is for almost the people that have developed from that phase one or looking to enter phase two. But inside Crusadia, we do it all. We have a rite of passage, which I don't care what part of life you're coming through, you have to go through our required crusade. And then we move on to phase two, which is taking that physique powered presence and moving it over into your real life. That's by creating business with yourself. That's creating content, basically living a life on your terms with real sovereignty, but in the name of everybody else in your life. And that's how it needs to be, in my opinion. That is exactly how it needs to be playing out, because there's a lot of people that get into great shape. And truthfully, you're ahead of 95% of people, but what are you doing with all that health? You should move it over into your real life. Not to say I'm telling you how to live your life, but I know deep down everybody that reaches that point of fitness knows that there's more to this. And I think the ultimate form of fitness is self-forgetfulness in the name of everybody else, in the name of a mission. And that's exactly what we do inside Crusadia. But if you need a little bit more time to kind of acclimate yourself, that's why I have the Uncle Rommy business channel. Please check that out. It's for those of you guys that are looking to really take your life to another level. Regardless, I love you guys very much. From Uncle Rommy to the Natural Crusaders, Crusadia boys, you guys know this, you're family to me, and I got your back for life. Anyways, Uncle Rommy out. Peace.